Hi, Betsy. Welcome to Coaches on a Mission.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Dallas.
I'm happy to have you here as well. So, as we're recording this, if I'm not mistaken, you're about 2.5 months into the hive. Is that accurate? Am I remembering that accurately?
Sounds about right, yes.
Yeah, good, good. Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because as a group, we're starting Client Surge actually officially tomorrow. And I want to make sure you feel confident and excited to go through the process. So, what do you want to get out of our conversation today?
Well, I've got to tell you, I can market anything all day long, but when it comes to sales, oh, no, thank you. I just need to get the confidence to really want to sell.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. This is one of my favorite conversations to have because I used to feel exactly that way. And now I'm one of those weirdo people who looks forward to the opportunity to sell. I'm really good at it because I love it so much. So let's see if we can get you on that path today.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, great. The place I want to start, Betsy, is can you distinguish for us, for you, the difference between marketing and selling? Because you said I could market all day long, but selling is an oh no. So what's the difference for you?
Well, especially in terms of marketing somebody else's either business or cause, I'm all about standing up for other people, but having the confidence to sell myself and my services. It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, so when you say I can market all day long, like you are great for standing up for things that matter. You love spreading the word about people or things that you trust and enjoy, but then turning that around and doing that same kind of promotion for yourself, it's a totally different story.
Exactly. It's the self promotion. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the part of you that cringes or hides when you think about asking for the sale, let's let that part of you come forward and speak. What does that part of you have to say?
What if I don't get it right? What if I don't know what to say?
Mhm.
What if, it's I think I'm full of doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm fearful that if they're paying me, they won't get their money's worth.
Oh, got it. Okay, so there's kind of 2 ends of that. One is, like, will I have the right things to say? How do I address their objections? All of the tactical selling pieces, but then there's also this fear, will I deliver on the promise I'm selling if they say yes?
Exactly. I've
Yeah.
never had my own business. I've always worked for somebody else.
Yep.
So to have it be under my name is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
yet
totally get it.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to do it.
I know. I know. I totally relate, and so many of our listeners can relate to that. Okay, so I heard you say, "I'm filled with doubt." The doubt is only there because you haven't done it, right? You sign a few clients and you start to see their process, that concern about delivering on your promise, it begins to evaporate, right? It doesn't mean it's gonna be any easier. The first few sales, that doesn't make it any easier. It might even make it harder, but I think it might be valuable for us to separate I'm filled with doubt or replace I'm filled with doubt with I'm not experienced at this yet, or this is new to me.
Yep. That's a good
Okay.
way to think about it.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you relate to this. I know you're a mindset coach, but for me personally, when I think about being filled with doubt, there's judgment there. It's like I'm filled with doubt, and then I judge myself, well, I shouldn't be, and why aren't I more confident? And it feels like I'm broken instead of being faced with a solvable problem. But being inexperienced, that's a solvable problem.
I think that really love that reframe. I love it.
Okay. Okay, great.
Mhm.
So our
Mhm.
goal is to help you get more experience selling because that's the first step to eliminating doubts and starting to love selling.
Great.
Okay,
Sign me
great.
up.
Okay, done. Thank you for listening, everyone. We're finished here today. Okay, so you mentioned a couple of concerns. Let's talk about the tactical side of selling first. Okay, there will be mindset pieces in there. And then if we need to, we may not, but if we need to, we can then address any of the what if I can't deliver on the promises kind of fears. Okay, so one of the tactical concerns you mentioned was, will I have the right thing to say? Tell me more about that concern.
If somebody comes to me with a difficult situation, and it goes from light and fluffy and goes deep, how will I know what to say but I guess if it goes too far, then I'll just refer them out. I don't know. I,
Mm-hmm.
I get I get so wound up in my head that I think I stop myself.
So I want to make sure I understand because the assumption, and I could just be incorrect. The assumption I made when I heard you say, will I say the right thing, was, will I say the right thing when I'm selling? But what I hear you explain now is, will I be able to support my clients once we're working together? So which one has more heat?
But I think they're related.
Tell me more.
So if I feel like I am not sure I'll be able to support my clients, how can I sell myself?
Completely. They're related, but the answers are totally different. Let me tell you what I mean. I don't know what to say when I'm in a sales conversation. I can give you a formula for that. That is not the formula you would use when you're supporting a client and you feel like you have reached your own capacity. So, yes, they're related because um, if you are concerned about being able to deliver coaching services, good luck selling coaching services. So I'm feeling like maybe our conversation should focus first on delivering because
I
if you
think that's good. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay. So tell me, let's imagine a client who you're in a coaching relationship and you start to feel like, wow, I might be at my limit here. This might, I may cause harm instead of cause good. So tell me more about the fears that are present when you think about that future scenario.
Well, if I think I'm in over my head, I guess I won't know. I'm at a loss here.
Yeah. So I know you're a mom. I'm a mom.
Yes. Yes.
Let's imagine you're relating to a child, your child, right? And you feel like you are beyond your capacity. My daughter's going through a definite growth spurt right now where I've had plenty of moments where I feel like, wow, I need to update my operating system here. She's running circles around me. So how would you relate to your child in the moment where you kind of don't have the right thing to say and you're not exactly how to support them in real time? What does that conversation look like?
Well, when my son and I have butted heads, um, it's usually best for us both to take a time out.
Okay.
And a lot of what I do when I'm need to find out information is I do research.
Mm-hmm.
And I just ask Doctor Google what he would say.
Great. So, how might we use that as a template for a client conversation when you are concerned that you are at capacity?
Okay.
Tell me, what would that look like in a client conversation?
Um, I'm not sure.
You're not sure. All right, let me give it a try. So, what I heard you say with your son, okay, we need to take a timeout. Let's take a break. This conversation isn't helpful for either of us. So let's take a break and then you go and tap into your own resources. Sometimes that resource is Google. Sometimes it might be another parent. Sometimes it just might be your own patience and resiliency. And then after you've tapped into your resources, I'm imagining you come back and you can meet your son in a different way and and help him in the way that he needs to be helped. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
So I wonder if in a coaching conversation, I'm going to pretend you're the client and I'll be the coach, right? And I can tell that your needs may be beyond my expertise. I think narration is the powerful skill here, right? So I might say something like, Betsy, it's my job to help you. And I'm feeling a little concerned that this conversation won't be helpful to you as it could be in the long run. So, how would you feel if we took a break? I'm going to go and tap into some resources and then come back to you so that we can make sure the help I give you is truly helpful.
That sounds like it totally makes sense.
Yeah. And here's the beauty of it. This is the difference between service and over responsibility. When I was a newer coach, I really fell into over responsibility. I have to have the answers, right? I am the coach and therefore I am God. I don't know like what that thinking was exactly, but I felt this pressure to really deliver. And what I have learned, I've been doing this a very long time. Our clients value our transparency and our striving way more than they value our expertise or even the results that we can provide. So, narration is our greatest resource. I'm going to tell you what's happening right now for me. I'm going to offer up clear next steps. And let's just say through that, you realize this client really needs to be referred to a therapist, right? Or I'm not the best coach for this client. That person will appreciate you coming back with that proposed solution so much more than you winging it and faking it and staying up every night Googling how to help this client.
I love it.
Great. Okay, so let's tap into the part of you that's nervous about not being able to deliver results or deliver on your promises. How is that part of you feeling? What, if anything, does it have to say?
I believe that there is a solution for everything if you just take the time, if you take long enough to figure it out.
There you go. Yes. So, one of the beautiful things that you provide your clients is spaciousness, because you believe there is a solution to any problem, and sometimes the first step toward that solution is time and space.
Mm, mm. Couldn't have said it better.
I just said back to you what you said. So, okay, here's what's coming up for me. So, when we started coaching, I first suggested we look at the tactical sales conversations, right? And then right away we said, no, we got to talk about this service delivery piece first. But let me tell you how narration can help you sell really powerfully. Okay. So we talked about narrating. I'm at capacity. We've got your formula now to how to serve clients, and that's just suggesting space. Okay. Here's how narration works when you're selling. Perhaps you present an offer. I'd like to invite you to become a client. And then the client comes forward with an objection or a concern. Maybe I'm going to push a button here, but maybe that concern is, well, what kind of results have you gotten for other clients? Right. And you're thinking, oh, shit, that's like the big fear I have. And they just called it out. Right. So narration might look like, wow, I notice that there's a part of me that really wants to defend myself or even prove my worth here. But that's not what coaching is about. So tell me more about your concern,
I love it.
right? So
Mm.
instead of falling into, well, I have this certification and I'm 47, so I've got 47 years of lived experience and just trying to prove my worth, we can provide value by narrating what just happened and then asking a curious question. Tell me more about why that matters to you. So, narration helps us sell, it also helps us serve.
Mhm. That's true. And
Okay,
you can probably tell what a client might be like in that first initial conversation anyway.
Yes,
and that's why
right.
you're doing it.
Right, because and what their expectations might be like, because coaching is not a straight line, right? It's a
No.
process and it's not an event, especially the work that you do, mindset coaching. So now instead of proving your worth, you get to have a conversation about expectations and the coaching process so the client does know if it's something they want or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Really good
Yes.
point, Betsy. Great point. Okay, so the part of you who is concerned about delivering on promises, what, if any, other concerns are present for you right now?
Well, in terms of serving, I think I have my questions answered.
Okay,
I have a question about sales.
great. Let's do it.
So, let's say I get my spiel down
Uh huh.
and I either have, a couple of successful calls or, I've done a few calls and I have mixed feelings about how things are going.
Mm hmm.
How do I keep going? How do I keep the momentum going?
Mm hmm. And are you, I just want to make sure I understand, are you talking about keep the momentum during the call or keep the momentum bringing in more calls?
Bringing in more calls.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Getting the
So,
numbers, it's probably a numbers game, right?
um, not necessarily, not necessarily. Really, there are a few layers. Number 1, it's clarity on your message, right? And the results that you want to deliver. The more clear you are on your message, the more easily you will invite in aligned clients into sales calls. Because if you're having countless sales calls with people who should not be your clients, it is not a numbers game. It's just a big waste of time.
Right.
So the first part is the messaging. The second part is cultivating the skills of selling. And the good news around that is the best sales skills are actually coaching skills. They're 100% transferable. And we can talk more about that. All right.
Yeah.
So when your message is strong and your skills are stronger, it really isn't a numbers game anymore. I mean, 90% of people who come into a sales call with me join the hive. Now, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, so that better be the case, right?
Well, you're very clear though.
Yes, say
You
more.
say from the very beginning, I want you to know, I want you to be prepared because I will be asking you if you'd like to join the hive when we speak.
Great.
So they
So
know.
are you gonna take a page from that book?
Well, of course.
Okay, good, good. All right, so the first let's break this down. So the first maybe not the first step, but a first step in setting the sale up is from the time people book a call with you, we set that expectation. Right? And my language, I don't have it memorized, but I'm gonna be pretty darn close, right? My language is something like, I value transparency in my business. So here is the price of my program. At the end of our conversation, if I feel like the hive is a fit for you, I'm going to invite you to become a client or to join us, right? And then people get to tick a box. Yes, I understand and I'll be ready, or no, I don't want to enroll at this time. So take that because now you have accountability. You've got some pressure to follow through on your promise to present an offer at the end. And the client comes in grounded, but also open because there's no mystery, right? If they're coming into a free coaching session, they know you're going to sell to them at some point. So to really to be told that that's going to happen, it's just respectful and the client feels cared for.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
mean, I
your
think
question was how do I keep it going when my sales calls aren't converting? So my suggestion around that, Betsy, I know you want to bring more joy into this process. My suggestion is to gamify this in some way. So yes, the goal is clients, but there are so many other micro goals that you could set and measure in this process to help you keep momentum. So, when you think about selling, what are like 1 to 3 skills you would like to use sales calls in order to cultivate?
I'm not sure what you mean.
So I'll give you an example. I'm not the best at being quiet. I actually get a little uncomfortable every once in a while on Hive calls where I'll be like, "Does anyone have a question?" And like as soon as I'm done, people don't even have time to click the raise hand button, and I'm already thinking, "All right, nobody has a question," right? So I know there's never an end to my ability to get better at holding silence, holding space for people.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that could be a skill that I could work to cultivate inside of my sales calls. In particular, in that moment when you say to someone, given what you've shared today, here's how I can help you. So I'd like to invite you to become a client. And then I need to shut my mouth. And if I'm not careful and don't have a ton of practice, I will keep talking. So
Gotcha.
that's what I mean, right? The goal is clients, but the micro goals are what are the skills I want to cultivate through this process? How can I measure that I am getting better, getting closer before I start converting clients? So that's an example. Can you think of any skills you would like to cultivate that you know will serve you in a sales call?
Probably, one of the things that I talk about doing is doing a little something every day towards your goal.
Mhm.
So, being consistent and setting aside a time every day where I devote to sales. Putting it on the calendar, put something on the sales calendar every day.
Great. I love this. So consistency is something you really value. One
Yes.
way you understand that if you're consistent around selling, you're going to get better at it and therefore you're going to sign clients. So putting something on the sales calendar every day. I would like to challenge you. I'd like to up the ante here. How would you feel? And I'm making this the timing up, but what if you did a practice sales call at least once a week? So that you're always in the process of selling, whether it's with a potential client or not.
Yes, I think that would be great.
Great.
A small version of that is I've been wearing a hat that says coach on it, and people ask me about my hat so I can talk about what I do.
That's great. Oh, I love that.
So,
So
yeah, I
you
like to
can go ahead.
I'm just trying, the more I talk about what I do, the better, right?
Yes, great. So we're putting time on the calendar every day devoted to selling. Once a week, you can have a practice sales call. The Hive community will be extremely helpful with you around that. It's part of the culture, right? Everybody wants to practice. I'd love to offer a tip if it feels helpful for you on how to use those practice calls effectively. We all want to be nice and supportive, right? So what's not helpful is to do a practice sales call with your friend or with a Hive member where they're just in, right? They're like the easiest to coach. At the end, when you offer them coaching, they say yes. That's not actually practice. So instead, think about an objection or an attitude that a client might bring in that you want to get better at meeting and ask your practice partner to play that role. So
Great.
for example, if you get super uncomfortable when people say I can't afford it, give your partner that assignment,
Mhm.
right? Like I want you to come in and I want you to be worried about affording coaching, right? Because you've tried things like this before and it hasn't paid off. And when I invite you to hire me, under no circumstances are you to say yes. You're going to say no and you're going to tell me you can't afford it. That's what I need to practice.
Most definitely.
Cool. Great.
Sounds great.
Okay, so what else is present for you around the tactical skills of selling?
I saw on the Surge, calendar that we're supposed to do social media while we're surging, and I
Mhm.
don't know, what are we talking about? Are we talking about
Betsy, you've got a 30-day social media calendar with templates that you can just customize. I've already done that work for you.
Okay.
So I think it's module 5. There's so much content inside the Hive. Don't. Don't quote me on that, but I've already handled that for you. What I don't want is for you to hide marketing, right? It's one thing to put some stuff out on social. It's a whole nother thing to invite someone into a sales call. So that's why I've done the social part for you, because you could do a surge and be very busy and never invite someone into a sales call, and then you're not surging.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's get back to talking about those actual sales calls. What, if any, other questions or concerns do you have around selling specifically?
Why? I mean, how can I turn into you and love doing it? How can I make it enjoyable?
Great. So, the first step to loving selling is to hate it and do it anyhow. So, I think sometimes we expect, what's a good example? Um, this is me when I dance. So, I can see someone dancing and like it can't be that hard. And then I'll try to do it and it's just not even it's not even a thing, right? I have to practice. And in order or when I was learning ukulele, right? It hurt my fingers and I wasn't good at it, but I kind of expected that I would just somehow be good at it without putting in the work, and that's just not reality. So the same thing is true when it comes to selling. If we wait until we love selling before we start selling, we're never going to love selling. The first step to loving selling is to hate it first and do it anyhow. Okay. Number two, and this is probably even more important. The reason I love selling is because I center the client instead of myself. Okay. I do not focus on, do they like me? Right? Will I be able to deliver on my promises? Well, ooh, if they sign me, that means I'll reach my money goal this month. It's none of that. Instead, it's advocating for the client's success. And when I can really center them, a few things become dramatically clear. Number one, I know that working with me is going to make your life easier. You're going to accomplish your goals more quickly. You're going to feel like you're in community. You're going to have the support you've been craving. I have no doubt about that. So why on earth would I not insist that you work with me? And that's not me being pushy. That's me taking care of you,
Okay. Ooh,
right?
there's the key right there.
Yeah.
Because I love to take care of people,
Yes.
and sometimes more than they want.
Okay, heard. Yep.
And so, if I think of it as taking care and nurturing, um, that makes me feel good. I
Great.
like that place.
I'm so glad. I want to speak, if it's okay, I want to speak into this a little bit for our listeners. And this might be helpful for you as well, but it can get fuzzy really, really quickly because sometimes if I'm taking care of people, I'm being soft, right? I'm like holding them in a hug. I'm giving them all the space they need. I don't want to be pushy. Like that looks like care, but that's not helpful. That's polite. It is unkind. So the other thing I really hold clearly is the distinction between being polite and being kind. When we're selling, politeness looks like, oh, I can tell you need, oh, you can't afford it. I understand. It's expensive. Well, I hope this was helpful. Bye. Right? That's polite, right? But the person is leaving the conversation no better off than they were when they came in, except feeling like, oh, I can't even afford this thing that I need. We need to help them feel good about their reality. And if their reality is that they can't afford it, great. Like, what are you going to do to help yourself now? Right? If their reality is they can't afford it, they're afraid to invest, we have to help them see that so that they can feel great about their decision. I'm not ready to invest. Great. They can feel good about that instead of disempowered. So sometimes when we center the client, we get it twisted and we think we have to really coddle, right? Instead of advocate.
Right.
Kindness is advocating for them, just like as a parent, right? Like Farina has to eat broccoli. She doesn't like it,
Mhm.
right? But I'm advocating for her growth and well being by setting that parameter and helping her enjoy broccoli as much as possible. So just pay attention to where you're. To whether or not you're centering the client through advocating for them versus coddling them,
Right. Right.
right? Great. Betsy, is there anything else we need to address around selling or delivering coaching in order to set you up for success as you move into client search?
Um, I guess part of what I have been thinking about is how do you work with deal working outside of your comfort zone? Do you have
Hmm.
any advice for, you know, I'm I know I can tell myself I can do hard things, and, if it's, uh, difficult just to do it anyway, but do you have any little tidbits about working outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah, couple of things. Number one, when I'm way outside of my comfort zone, I will ask myself, how do I want to feel at the end of this process? Right? And sometimes the way I want to feel is I want to feel calm. Right? If that's how I want to feel, I may not. I may dial it in. I may not stretch so far outside of my comfort zone because that does not align with the way I want to feel. But more often than not, I'm an ambitious person. And so the way I want to feel is accomplished, right? How do I want to feel at the end of this? Well, you damn well better believe I want to know I did the thing. That's how I want to feel. So if that's how I want to feel, what actions can I take every day to align with that feeling? And remind myself that this is about feeling the way I want to feel way more than it is about signing the client or closing the sale or having a reel that goes viral. It's taking action aligned with my desired feeling first. That's how I know I'm advocating for myself.
Aha, I like it.
And then the other piece around getting outside of my comfort zone, I and maybe I'm like too aggressive around this, but I'm not comfortable not growing.
Hmm,
And not everyone is that way. I think a lot of coaches are that way,
right.
right? So instead of just like power through or do the thing, it's like, wait, like how do I want to be uncomfortable right now? Uncomfortable growing or uncomfortable sitting still? Sometimes I want to be uncomfortable sitting still. Right? Sometimes I want to be uncomfortable growing. So I'll often perception check with myself just to align again with the thing that I want and the way that I want to feel and give myself permission to take actions accordingly instead of permission to just lay down, right? Or this idea that I have to do the thing I said I was going to do because that's not rewarding, right? Well, I said I was going to do this, so now I got to stick with it. That's not always the case. Is that helpful at all?
It is, it is. I think that's just, doing a little check-in is helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And then another practical note, when I know I'm going into a season of growth, I will do my best to fortify myself in other areas. Like right now, I'm getting a ton of sleep. My daughter goes to bed at like 8:15. I'm going to bed at 8:15. I'm getting so much sleep right now, but that's helping me because during my days, I'm feeling pretty stretched. So I'm going to do this thing, but where else in my life can I maybe dial it back or take special action to fortify myself so that I feel as strong as possible as I do this scary thing that makes me feel naked and alone in the desert.
I
Yeah,
like I think that's helpful too.
cool. Great.
Thank you.
So I want to encourage you when you're going through client surge to keep your eyes on those mini milestones, right? How are you going to measure that you're growing outside of, well, if I get a client, I'm doing it right, and if I don't get a client, I'm doing it wrong. So keep that in mind. And then also for you and for our listeners, remember that you shouldn't like selling before you start selling. That's the prize at the end. And you'll like selling a lot more when you center the client instead of yourself.
I like it.
Cool. Betsy, thank you for coming on the show today. I hope this conversation was helpful for you.
It was very helpful. Thank you very much, Dallas.
You're welcome.